testify this morning. Thank all of y'all for your prayers. The past few weeks have been, we've definitely needed the Lord during the past few weeks. But a couple of weeks ago, Mom has been losing weight for like since Mother's Day. She's lost like 23 pounds since Mother's Day. And she's began to get weaker and weaker, so she's been seeing Shonda Lewis, and a couple of weeks ago, we went and Mom had an upper and lower GI. And when the doctor ran the lower GI and tried to run the scope through a certain place, he hit opposition, and he said he hit a mass and he couldn't pass through it. So he come in and talked to me and Dad about it, and he was telling us we needed to see a surgeon as soon as possible. And so I asked him, I said, do you think this is cancer? And he said, well, I suspect it is, but we won't know till we get the biopsy back. So he said, I'm going to set you up an appointment with the surgeon, my nurse is. So she went and set us up an appointment, and it was for July the 18th. And I told the little nurse, I said, that is a long time off. I said, that's just too long. She said, yeah, it is. She said, you can call the doctor's office Monday, and if there's a cancellation, then maybe we can get you in sooner. And Dad said, well, I'm going to call Shonda, and I'm going to see what she can do for us. And Sister Ann Hicks works for Shonda Lewis in Scottsdale, and she got us an appointment with Dr. Curry on Monday of this past week. So we went in to see Dr. Curry, and Mom told me Sunday, she said, Karen, you know, from this week to last week, I can tell I've really gotten weaker. Said it was really harder for me to fix my hair this Sunday. It took more energy than it usually does, it sapped me. And so Monday afternoon, Dad asked me if I would go with him, so we went to Dr. Curry's office. And we walked in, and Dr. Curry did not know that Dr. Short that we did not actually know the results. So he come in and he told us, you know, you've got cancer. And he began talking to us, and then he mentioned tumor. And at the moment he mentioned tumor, something hit Mother, and she started crying. And he had her to lay down, and he started mashing on her stomach, and he said, is that tender right there? And he said, yes. He said, okay, have you had a CAT scan? And she said, yes, I've had a CAT scan. He said, well, I can find those results. So he went back and he come back in, and he said, I saw the CAT scan, and he said it was a fairly large tumor, and he said, when I was feeling your stomach, I felt the tumor, and it's very seldom that you feel that, and that's from what Pastor said. He said that's the first time he'd ever felt a tumor when mashing on the stomach. He said, before he told us all this, when he come in and told us, he said, you know, you've had cancer for years. It doesn't matter if we have surgery today or tomorrow, or next week or next month. You know, you've got cancer. It's not gonna help, you know, speed things up or whatever. And then when he felt the mass and he come back in, he said, do you care if I go ahead and set up the surgery? And we were like, no. And so he come back in and stuck his head in, and he said, what about tomorrow? And we said, that's great, 5:30. So we were really expecting it to be pretty bad since he could feel it. And so we got ready, got all of her medicine, and she went home and took all of her medicine, and we got back up there Tuesday afternoon. And we were all in the room praying. And Mom has been a trooper, I'm telling you. She's had a positive attitude through all of this. And a pastor preached a message a few weeks back about the anchor, which was the curved arms of God. And she said, no matter what, I'm in the curved arms of God. And so Pastor read that scripture and explained it again. And then we also used the scripture, it is well, you know, that's our theme this year, it is well in 2012. We didn't realize we will be going through some things this year, many of us have. And he also used that scripture, and we began to pray. And Mom went out, and she had her surgery, and we went back to the room. And one of the first things she started doing was praising God. She said, God has been so good to me. She said, he's just so good to me. She said, when I get back to church, I'm going to shout in a few weeks. Said, I may not shout very high, but I'm going to shout. God has been so good to me. And just praising the Lord. And then the next day, she got to eat liquids, and it was broth, beef broth and chicken broth. And oh, it just tasted so good to her. And she took a sip one morning, and she forgot to pray for her. Oh, Lord, she raised her hands. Thank you for this wonderful broth. She just had the best attitude. And the doctor told her her blood was low, and she'd probably have to have a blood transfusion. She did not have to have a blood transfusion. The doctor told her the tumor was so big, and he got the surrounding lymph nodes around it because he thought the cancer would be in the lymph nodes. We got those results back, no cancer in the lymph nodes. We thought it was going to be a stage 3, it was stage 2. He did tell us that a lot of times with stage 2s, you do not need chemotherapy, but they're doing studies now, and that it sometimes is recommended that they do get some chemotherapy, and he's sending us to an oncologist and to see if we need chemo, because he said the cancer was, he said, ugly. And so we are going to be seeing an oncologist. He told us we would be in the hospital 5 to 7 days. Mom got discharged yesterday in 4 days. Her bowels are moving, and her she's just done absolutely wonderful. And she was on B3, which was right over there close to me where I work. And the little secretary told me one day some people come up, and you're wanting to see Miss Roach, aren't you? And matter of fact, it was brother and sister had to come up. And she said, I can tell the people who want to come see Miss Roach, they're always smiling. So I thought that was a great testimony. But I put on a song this morning, and Pastor asked me to sing it. So I'm going to sing this. You know, in the good times and the bad times, we're always sheltered in the arms of God. So I'm going to sing this and dedicate it to Mom.